back to Combat Performance Systems. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that I have seen all over my social media, so I wanted to address it, let you know my opinion, and see what you guys think. The topic is coaches outworking their athletes. Now, we are going to define athlete as someone that is on a competitive stage who is actively competing and training to compete, whether that's locally all the way up to the international. And we are talking about a coach that is training an athlete for competition. Okay, we're not talking about our average run-of-the-mill member who comes into a gym and is learning martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever it may be, for fitness purposes. We are talking about someone who is on a competitive stage, actively competing, looking to go to competition. Okay, and for the coach, we're talking about a coach who's coaching them for competition, not who's just training them, personal training or anything like that. So now that we have the what we're talking about, we got our coaches outworking our athletes, okay? I'm not talking about when you're going in and you're sparring with your coach and your coach is, landing a couple two pieces on you. We're not talking about that. Of course that's going to happen. Well, maybe not of course, but especially at a beginner level, maybe you're just entering into competition, your coach is definitely going to be better than you. They've been doing it for a while. That's why they're the coach, okay? So we're not talking about on a sparring thing and they're giving you the business. We are talking about outworking you as in they are conditioning harder than you. They are training harder than you. They are showing up to more practices than you, right? All of those things. That's what we're talking about. Now, with that being said, right, as an athlete, if your coach is showing up and putting in the work, that is great. They're leading by example. But you need to match that energy and try and pass them, okay? Whatever they do, you're going to add one more thing. Just get up there and get the work in, okay? Even when you don't want to, you do it. That is how the coach came to be the coach, is they probably showed up when they didn't want to, all right? And now they've evolved and they've transformed and, all of those things. That's why they're your coach. That's why you've selected them. But athletes, if your coach is putting in more work than you, you need to step it up. Get up to their level. Now let's flip the coin, okay? We're going to go back to the other one. And I want to give a shout out to Coach Cam because I know that he is doing this, okay? Coach Cam is out there as a coach. He is still training at a competitive level, all right? He's retired from competition, but he's not going, he's still training. He puts in his work for his technique training. He puts in his work for his conditioning training. He puts in the work for practical training, whether that's sparring. He's still getting rounds in, okay? I think that is great. That is excellent. That is what we want. That is what you should look for in a coach. Someone who is going to lead by example and set a high expectation and a high standard for you to meet. Because now all of his athletes see him doing that on top of everything else that he's doing, all right? And they have to push themselves to meet that and then pass that, all right? So we want to make sure as coaches, number one, that we are still working, okay? I'm not going to go out onto the street into Denver and go and pick the homeless person and be like, hey, buddy, what stock should I invest in, right? How should I invest my money? Because obviously you're doing so well that I'm going to take advice from you, right? We don't take financial advice from homeless people. We don't take personal training advice from overweight, unhealthy people who are eating bowls of cereal and ice cream every night, right? We want to take the advice to get to where we want to be from someone who's there. So coaches, you need to still train like you're competing. I'm not saying go out there and wreck your body and you have to get multiple rounds in and all of that stuff, but you need to keep yourself at a high caliber. Sharpen your skills. You need to be focused. You need to be training. You need to be learning. We always need to be growing, all right? We've talked about this on this channel before, is we want to have that white belt attitude, that we are always a student, that we are always learning, that we are always growing. We can pick different things from each other, test out new things, okay? Make sure, as a coach, you're still conditioning, you're still training, you're still sharpening your technique. You can't just sit there and hold pads all day. That's not, it's going to be great for your athlete. However, it's not good for you, okay? We need to keep ourselves mentally. The other thing is, as coaches, we need to be inspiring our athletes, okay? I need to believe in my athlete. And if I can't believe in myself, how am I going to believe in anyone else? So I need to believe in myself. And believing in myself is starting with showing up when I don't want to, working out when I don't want to, training when I don't want to, okay? I still got to go into training. Oftentimes here at the gym, what I'll do is I'll take an intro class. Number one, it helps my clients because they see, oh, wow, this guy's showing up for class. It sets a good example for your athletes and your clients. So make sure you're setting a good example, all right? Athletes, make sure your coach ain't outworking you. If you got a psychopath coach, you got to outwork them. You picked them for a reason. They are leading by example, so outwork them. They are going to lead you. You need to follow. As an athlete, you need to follow your coach's direction, okay? I'm not saying that you got to do everything exactly the way they do it and, dial it down to the science. I'm a robot, follow my coach. No, we don't need to do all that, all right? We need to at least follow in their footsteps. If they're telling you to do something, it's for a reason. Whether they were once an athlete, all right, and competing at a high level, and I'm not saying that all great athletes are great coaches, and vice versa. Not all athletes not all great coaches were once great athletes, okay? They're few and far between, but I will tell you this, that a coach definitely was an athlete at one point. They know how to train, they know how to work, and they know what works. So trust them. Trust your coaches. Coaches, trust your athletes. Lead by example. All right?